Good morning, guys, and we are here at the Central St Martin's in King's Cross, where Jaguar Land Rover very kindly invited me to come to their inaugural Tech Fest. Now, as someone that's a massive lover of cars, it's really interesting to see the way the car manufacturers are responding to the change and starting to move their models over to electric vehicles. So what we're going to have a look at today is basically how a Jaguar taking their business into the future. I'm super interested to see what they've been doing. I mean, they've got some fantastic things which are coming out. The I-Pace, which will be on sale next year, which is the first performance electric SUV. The Future type, which is straight out of something from iRobot. So I'm going to be checking out some of the panels that they've got on here, especially Women and the Machine, because I'm really interested to see what Jaguar Land Rover have got to say about women and how we fit in with this whole car world. So we're going to have a look round, show you what's been going on, and yeah, see how the future's going to look.
More bass than Bootsy Collins. You versus me, that's like Ali versus Foreman. God's act, stand back and watch. Devil's time out, can't be time with no.
So we're now heading into the Tech Fest studio for our first talk of the day. And this one is millennials and mobility. So how us, millennials, are dealing with the mobility revolution.
People just want to find that next way to make their life more efficient as instantly as possible. And I think that's what's going to define the generation in terms of what people have to provide. When you look at brands and relationships, the social consciousness aspect of it is incredibly important to young people these days. I mean,
so that was definitely interesting. One thing that they picked up on in the talk was, is car ownership ending as we know it? And thankfully, I mean, it's definitely in line with my thoughts on this. 77% said no, and 23% said yes. So I don't think it's over yet, kids. So one thing that I've been really excited to see is Jaguar's Concept Zero E-Type. Now this is based on a 68 Series 1.5 and has been built at the Jaguar Land Rover Classic Works workshop in Warwickshire. Now this is literally taking the original car and reimagining it. So we're now joined by Tim Hannock, who is the director of Jaguar Classics. So Tim, tell me a little bit about the interior. I mean, obviously still keeping that original steering wheel from the E-Type, but completely reimagining it.
Yeah, I think what we try to do here is actually to keep a lot of E-Type in this, and I think we'll come to that in a minute, because we've managed to really keep this to be an E-Type. It drives like an E-Type, it looks like an E-Type, it feels like an E-Type. Just the transmission is different. But
Does it sound like an E-Type?
No, it sounds much better than that. It
better?
Actually,
okay.
I love it, yeah.
So sort of with the new transmission in there, how much work, how long did it actually take you to convert this car?
We worked on this project for about 1.5 years, so it's quite long, and that is because what we wanted to do is we set the parameter pretty strict. So we've done this without any structural changes. So that means we've actually disassembled the IC engine out of it, and then we assembled and designed a electric transmission, battery, motor, reduction gear, and all the inverters, so that they fit in the space that the components make. So we did not cut a single piece of metal in order to make it fit, and that was quite important. And the result is absolutely fantastic, because the weight distribution is exactly the same as original, 51 to 49. The car is actually lighter than it was, 46 kilograms lighter, and it's faster than it was, which is actually quite nice.
Well, Tim, I'm a classic car driver myself. I'm not quite sold just yet, but we'll see what happens in the future.
If you drive it, you will be sold. It's beautiful.
I'll take your word for it. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Who I am, the Black Abraham. Zungo, Zungo, Zang, yellow man, Vietnam. Adding extra bars, I spawn with little drawers, taking kingdom from czars. Winning more wars than the...
So what I have behind me is the new 2017 Range Rover Velar. Now I don't know about you, but I always saw myself as a rangy girl. I always wanted my Range Rover Sport for going out into the country and, you know, going to nice pubs for my kids, etc. So between the Evoque and the Range Rover Sport, we now have the Velar, and it's basically Jaguar Land Rover's most technologically advanced SUV before we have the I-Pace, which will be coming out next year. Inside it, it has the new digital butler called Blade. And this car has got a quad-core processor in it, so it's essentially a computer on wheels. So I'm going to get in it and see what tech that I would use if I had one of these. So talk me through this. I mean, it looks pretty futuristic, doesn't it? I mean, you've got rid of the original sort of interface here, and you have this now coming down into the console.
Yeah. So essentially what we've done here, and you'll notice this from our previous models, is we try to remove as many buttons as possible. It's always such a challenge trying to mix design and getting the functionality there for our customers. But what we've managed to do is introduce this new Blade technology. And essentially all the features that you would normally interact with down here have been changed into a kind of dynamic experience. So you can access your vehicle settings for changing your dynamics if you're going off-road, or if you want to change it into a dynamic mode. But these rotary dials here will change depending on which tab you're in. So for climate control, you'll notice it changes to the thermostat. So I can change
so
the
much
thermostat,
better.
and I can change the fan speed. If I'm in seats, it does something completely different, and I can also change the radio, the media, and view my telephone.
So one of my biggest gripes about cars with sat-nav is you're essentially watching it on a potato. So I can see that the screen here is a lot brighter.
It is.
And is it updated by the Wi-Fi which is in the car? Because a lot of the time when you use traditional sort of sat-navs in cars, sometimes you're better off using Google Maps on your phone, because it just doesn't update you. It's taking you an old route, doesn't know the new roads. So is this kind of like the latest tech when it comes to navigation?
Yeah, it definitely is the latest tech. What you will see here is we've got speed cameras, we've got traffic, so realised traffic. But what we also have is a fantastic feature called commute mode. Now, commute mode will basically learn your journey habits, and it will learn your commutes in the morning. If there is an incident along your usual commute, it'll redirect you a different way.
So one thing that I do like about this car is there were actually no animals harmed in the making of it. So as you can see on the seats, what looks like Alcantara is actually a material made in Italy, made out of recycled plastic bottles. And this on the steering wheel is a synthetic Alcantara. Here on the dashboard, we have a plastic actually, which is made by a company in Denmark called Kvadrat. Now it's a Lux-Tech material. Traditionally, if you thought of plastic on a dashboard, you think it would feel quite cheap, but believe me guys, this feels amazing.
You might debate we, a refugee, no harm hurt me. Dying thirsty from the struggle to my own hustle double on the low. Woe is me to show the free bar, right? The righteous Asiatic thinker while Shaitan rock.
So we're here with Mr. Ian Callum, who is the design director here at Jaguar. Very nice to meet you.
And you?
So,
and you?
Of all the electric vehicles to start with, why an SUV? Why not like a sports model?
Well, one is we discovered through Jaguar and the FKs and other SUVs are doing, it's a very popular choice. It's something that everybody wants, and therefore the idea of selling it is a lot less questionable. But the other real reason, the physical reason, is we have to put batteries on the floor, which means everything naturally goes up in height. And from a design point of view, it makes my life a lot easier if I decide it's an SUV, because it's got to be tall. And if I try and encompass this in a very low slung sports sedan, it becomes much more challenging. So the first one off is an SUV, because it makes our packaging issue much clearer, much easier. So that's why.
Civilized like the Molly Burgundy, Molly rockin', seen the fifth when Ollie clocked and John Forte, keep you locked in.
All around, you got to recognize the witness dismissed who's swift enough to knock you out with Mike Fitness, his blister from home.
So we're now on our way to go to the talk, which is about woman and machine. I'd be quite interested to see what points they actually bring up, because obviously there's the whole myriad of points that you can make about how women fit in with this industry. So I'm going to see what they've got to say.
I think I want to start by saying, as a little introduction, I'm not sure why we still are having this conversation, truthfully. It's clear diversity is good for business. And we also know that if we get this right, if we reach gender equality, we have the ability to add over $12 trillion to the global GDP by 2025.
And that was just a daily operation. Yo, you soft like lubrication. You can't see this occupation. No, right now. And you know we hail from Q, Merrill, L. Brooks, and Crest trainers, Boswell. Yo, we used to like
So I definitely had an interesting day today. I think that Jaguar Land Rover are a complete credit to the UK manufacturers. The technology, the passion and the effort that they're putting in to future-proof the driving experience for us all is insane. When they first told me that they were making a battery-powered E-Type, I was a little bit like, but what they're doing is actually future-proofing these cars for our kids. So my car in 2040, you may not actually be able to drive it on the road, but by them pioneering the technology and being able to create these cars and make them into battery-powered cars is making sure that for years and years to come, your kids, my kids can enjoy classic cars. And for that, you can't thank them enough, really. With the talk today, we've definitely had some different viewpoints seen from women in the industry, and then also how millennials feel about the new driving experiences that what they will have when their kids grow up. I think the way the whole thing has gone and the way the industry is moving, Jaguar are well up there, and I think they're a company that we should be really, really proud of. So I want to say a big, big thank you to Jaguar Land Rover for having me here today and showing me how things are going to progress in the future.